stop yapıyorsunuz. They are trying to turn on the cameras.
Okay, no problem.
Hocam sabahtan akşama özledik sizi.
Yalancının.
Arkadaşlar bir unmute yapın, sizi bir duyalım. Unmute yapın, sizi bir duyalım. Bir merhaba deyin.
Merhabalar.
Merhabalar.
Merhabalar.
Geldin galiba. Okay.
Okay.
Evet,
Unmute
geldim.
ve turn on the cameras.
All right, I am almost done. Okay, just a
Okay,
minute.
okay.
I'm actually
I'm trying to save time for you.
okay, no problem.
Emre,
Tam
sesin
bulan-
çıkmıyor Emre.
Hocam Emre'nin kamerasından ses gelmiyormuş, öyle söyledi. Telefonda ses
Okay.
gelmiyormuş, pardon, öyle söyledi.
Büşra Nur, Gözde, Gamze, sizi bekliyoruz. Murat,
Merhabalar hocam.
Samir, Hafiz. Burak nasılsın?
İyiyim hocam,
siz-
teşekkürler. Murat derken hangi Murat?
Murat'la Burak karıştı şu anda da.
Evet, Murat kamerayı aç diyorum. Burak'a merhaba diyorum.
Benimki sıkıntılı da hocam, o yüzden onu belirtmek için şey yapacaktım.
Problem değil, problem
Evet.
değil. Some of the students have problem with the cameras, Faizan, so they cannot turn it
It's
on.
okay. It's okay.
They
It's
just-
okay.
I just asked them to turn on the cameras and maybe you would like to see them. So,
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, either way, it's fine. No problem with me.
okay, whenever you are ready, Professor Yetkin will start, okay?
Okay. I am almost ready. I'm just sharing the link.
Okay. Yeni katılan arkadaşlar da bir kamera açabilirler mi mümkünse? Çünkü hoş geldiniz diyeceğiz Faizan'a.
Gözde migreni nasıl oldu?
Gözde şu an unmute'sun. Onu mute'sun. Unmute yapar mısın?
Hocam fark ettim hocam. Daha iyiyim hocam sabaha göre ama başlayınca bir hafta falan sürüyor.
Onu biliyorum.
Evet.
Onu en iyi Burak Hoca da anlar değil mi Burak Hocam?
Aynen, ben anlayabiliyorum onu şu an.
Onun
Okay.
dolabında da benim dolabımda da acil stoklar.
All right, then
Kesiciler.
we are ready.
Okay, if you are ready, Professor
Yes,
Yetkin can
I'm-
start.
Yes, I'm ready now.
Okay, thank you.
Uh,
Professor Yetkin.
Professor Faizan, thank you for joining us today, and I'll appreciate for this. Let me introduce you to my students. Dear students, Professor Faizan is interested in marketing, especially consumer experiences, and he has more than 40 articles about consumer experiences and the other field of the marketing. And also he is interested in research methodologies. I'm following him from I think 6 months or maybe 1 or 2 months before, but he is very good at especially PLS and the other research techniques. Before we started the session, Professor Faizan, we were talking about yourself, with Professor Sedan Doğan, about we wish you will be our research methodology professor for our master thesis program. Also, we can wish, but unfortunately we cannot do because of our country's illegal procedures. But we are lucky today for your joining us, and whenever you're ready, you can start. Thank you again for your presentation and sharing your time with us.
I really appreciate it. And you know, I've heard very good things about you from Sedan, and we are going to do something else later, probably this week or next week. You know, I'm going to get you in a panel about how to teach marketing in online sessions. I'm actually looking for different people from different parts of the world, just so that we can get more interesting insights, right? So like you are in Turkey, I have a couple of people from Europe, and then a couple of people from US. It's just that the time is so funny, like there's like long time differences. So hopefully next week we will figure it out, a time that works for everybody, and then we'll do it. But again, it's my pleasure to, you know, talk to all of you. Turkey is very close to my heart. All my friends from Turkey know this. I love Turkey, well, because obviously culture is similar, but I love the people. They are so hospitable, and then food is amazing. And these days I'm watching a Turkish serial, Ertugrul. Yes, yes, which is very cool. Yes, I call it Turkish Game of Thrones. I mean, I really like it, you know, so and many people watch it. In fact, right now, I was telling Sedan last night that I saw one article that says that this serial has become the most watched serial of all times around the world. So it's unbelievable, you know. So anyway, I'm happy that I'm here, and I hope that you all will have something to learn from what I have to say. But again, we'll make it more like a discussion-based thing. So it's not a class; it's more like discussion. I'm going to share my my learning over the years, and then anybody who do not understand or who do not agree to what I say, you are more than welcome to stop me and engage in a discussion. I love that. Okay. All right. Perfect.
Yes.
And then there are a few people who are waiting to join the session. So I'll keep doing all these things. Okay, and then yes, one more thing. If you have questions and you don't want to disturb, then you can also use the chat feature. So you can just go to the chat and post your question there. I'll check it, but write it in English because I don't know Turkish, so I cannot answer Turkish questions.
Faizan, if they write in Turkish, I will translate, okay?
Okay, all right. Either way, that's completely fine. Okay, and then also for those of you who are on Zoom, I would also say that we are also live on YouTube. So I'm also monitoring YouTube, or maybe Sedan, because I'm going to share my screen. So can you monitor YouTube if there are any questions? Yes, but my responsibility here is to tell you that I have a very good friend, Lubna. She is following me for a long time and she attends all these sessions. So while I was talking about Turkey, she also messaged on YouTube saying that I also like Turkey. So that everybody knows this. Just saying that. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and start with the session today. What I'll do is I'll just share my screen. That way it's easier. My screen is very messy. I apologize for that. How things are. So
just like Professor Faizan, just like our research assistant, Burak.
Yeah, so you
Chaos.
Basically, for me, what happens is, you know, I have a very short attention span. So if something is not in front of me, I forget it. So that's why everything that's important for me to work on, I just put it on my desktop and then I just, you know, play with it. So that's why. Anyway, so my name, as most of you know, is Faizan Ali. I'm an assistant professor and also graduate program coordinator at the School of Hospitality and Tourism Leadership, University of South Florida. And I must acknowledge here my very dear friend, like a brother to me and mentor, Professor Jihan Chobanoglu. He is one of the main reasons why I am here, what I'm doing, and he has a huge, huge, huge impact in my life and also in my professional career. He would have been here, but right now he is on a marathon. Those of you who know him, he is doing 3 or 4 panels every day. I don't know how he do it, but he is doing it. So even now he is having a panel discussion with a professor from Turkey. So I just wanted to mention his name. Now, because I'm very research active and also dealing with the graduate program in my college, I deal with a lot of research work that's done by the students as well as visiting scholars like Sedan here or Gozde or other. I see Gozde here on Zoom. I don't know if this is the Gozde that we have or if this is another Gozde from Turkey.
No, this is master student Gözde from
Okay,
Turkey.
okay. Yes, I mean, I don't know, right? So, okay. Okay, so today what we will cover in this session is because we don't really have a lot of time. So what I'll do is I'll talk a little bit about what makes a good research paper. How can you decide whether you are working on a good research paper? And then also what are some common errors and how you avoid them. And the reason why I say common errors is because you know, when I put these videos on YouTube, obviously there are people who are from other disciplines, right? So my entire research is about hospitality and tourism. I do a little bit research in services, but then there are people who are working in, let's say, finance. Mine is consumer behavior, but there are people who are in finance, people who are using econometrics or some other fields, right? So it's not necessary that the specific problems that we see in consumer behavior research is the same with finance research or econometrics research. So that's why I focus more on common mistakes that are really, that we really see across the fields, like people who are working in whatever research area, they make these type of mistakes. So I think this is much more beneficial for a wider audience. So we'll talk about what are some common errors and how you avoid them. How should you not make those errors? Because remember, the more errors you make, even if it's a small mistake, but if it's too many times, then it's going to create a lot of problem for you, right? Just imagine for a moment that if you make a spelling mistake when you are typing something, and if you make one spelling mistake, then that's okay, right? People can avoid that. It's okay, no problem. But if you make too many spelling mistakes, then it's a big problem because people are going to say like your English is not good or you cannot write or you don't know spellings. So even if it's a small problem, but the more you do it, the worse it gets. So that's why we'll talk about common errors and avoiding them. Creating perfect pitch, I don't know if we'll have time for it today or not, but if we don't have time for it, maybe we can do it in another session, probably next week or the week after. We'll see how the time goes. So these are the three things that we'll talk about. Again, remember, if you have any questions or if you do not agree to what I say, just chip in, okay? Just chat or unmute yourself and say something and we can engage in a discussion. Okay, so my background is like this. I started my job at University of South Florida in 2016 as an assistant professor. Prior to that, I worked at Florida State University as a postdoctoral student or a postdoctoral scholar, whatever you may call it. My PhD is from Malaysia in marketing. I studied in UK for my master's in management, and I'm originally from Pakistan, so my bachelor degree was from Pakistan. So I studied in Pakistan for my bachelor's in business administration and information technology. Also, in terms of research, I've done quite a bit of research. So my research papers are close to 55, 56, but then conference papers, books, chapters, everything combines together to close to 100 now. But, again, publishing more doesn't mean that I know everything. It just means that I have quite a bit of experience, but this is a learning process. It's a progressive thing. You learn with time. And I, by no means, when I mention this, I mean that I'm all expert in everything. I just share my experiences with all of you. And then I work in hospitality and tourism, basically consumer behavior. I also do a bit of advanced statistics and SEM, PLS especially. So this is pretty much my background. Now, in addition to this, in terms of service to research community, I do other things as well. So like I said, I'm a graduate program coordinator for my college. So I deal with all the graduate students, their research and everything. I also serve on multiple professional organizations as well as editorial boards for different journals. Right now, I am Director of Research Methods and Statistics for ANAHI. I don't know if you know this organization or not, but it's headed by Dr. Jihan, Professor Jihan Chobanoglu. I also act as assistant editor for methodology for Journal of Hospitality and Tourism Technology. I serve as coordinating editor for International Journal of Hospitality Management. And then European Journal of Tourism Research, I act as the assistant editor for doctoral dissertations, assistant editor for cutting edge doctoral research for Services Industries Journal. Now, here something is very important, and that is if any of you are about to finish your PhD and you want to publish that, you have an opportunity because there are some good journals where you can publish your work. European Journal of Tourism Research, what it does is it publishes a summary of your research, of your PhD. So if as soon as you finish your dissertation, it's not a full paper, it's just a summary of your PhD dissertation. Because remember, most of the universities have hard copies of your PhD, right? So when you finish your PhD dissertation, you write your thesis, it just stays in the library, and maybe only people who are in your university have access to it, but nobody else have got access to it, right? So it's a good opportunity for you, especially after PhD when you're finding a job, to have some sort of publication or some citations to your work. My own PhD work, when I finished my PhD, I published that summary in European Journal of Tourism Research. By now it has quite a bit of citations, because people who want to see what I've done in my PhD, instead of reading a 600-page book, they can simply go and read like a 3-page summary of my PhD, and they can cite it because it has all the main findings, my model, main methods that I've used, and the conclusion of my research. So it's a very good idea to do something like this. And then there's another journal called Services Industries Journal. Maybe you should know about it. The editor is also Professor Levent Altinay. He is right now in Oxford Brookes University. And Services Industries Journal is a very good journal as well. It's an SSCI Impact Factor journal. They started recently cutting edge doctoral research. So what you can do is, if your PhD is based on a really interesting topic where you have made a contribution in theory, in methods, in context, send it out. And this is pretty fast track. I mean, I'm the editor. When you send it, it comes to me. I look at it, I send it to 1 or 2 people very quick. And if it's accepted, it gets published in a SSCI journal. So you don't have to go through the normal route. It's a fast track route, just because we want doctoral students to have something published as soon as possible. So these are 2 things that I wanted to share, and it can help most of you, because when you finish your PhD, you go for a job, you can put this on your CV, it looks good. It puts you different from other people who are applying for the same job. So this is what it is. I also act as assistant editor methodology for International Journal of Contemporary Hospitality Management. Again, editor is a Turkish professor, a very close friend of mine, Professor Fevzi Okumuş. So these are different things that I do with journals, with different professional organizations. And I also go to different places to conduct these type of workshops. So far, I have conducted workshops in China, UK, Vietnam, Malaysia, I don't know, many places, including Turkey. So the last time I came to Turkey, I did a workshop in Istanbul, and before that in Kuşadası, which I loved so much. So I really want to go back. Kuşadası was a good place. So, all right, so this is...
Also, because of coronavirus, you cannot come to Antalya for MTCon.
Yes.
And a special session for you, I think.
Yes, I actually, that was really a disappointment, because I was looking forward to that. Anytime when there's an opportunity for me to go to Turkey, I'm very happy. I don't say no. But, hopefully this thing will get over soon, and then, this MTCon will continue, and then hopefully we'll be in Turkey. So
just one addition.
Yes.
When I was beginning of the academic career, my professor said to me, you cannot write until you finish your doctorate, but you are talking about our students, you must write, and while you are making your academic career. This is the I think until now, this is the main idea of the speech.
Right. So look,
Yes.
here is something very important. In the past, like I said, these days I'm watching this Turkish serial, right? What they are showing is the traditional tribal society in Turkey, okay? And when I watch
Yes.
it, maybe because it's a drama, so obviously they want to make it like a drama. But even if I think about the reality, at that time there were no brands. So in this little tribe, this Kai tribe, there is a small market. People go and buy things there. There's no branding there, right? So you go to a shop, you buy a sword, you come out. You go to a shop, you buy a glass made of wood, you come out. There's no branding. Why? Because there's no competition. There's no competition, there's no branding, right? So you just, somebody,
Yes.
one shop is making one thing, you just go and buy there. 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, there were not so many PhDs like now. Now we have so many more people who are going into PhD, and every year there's so many more people who are coming into the job market. So how do you make yourself distinguished? Here's a very easy thing for you to, for all the PhD students here to understand. Like if I ask you, what is your end goal? Like what do you want to do after PhD? What do you think people are going to say? Most of them are going to say, I want to find a job in the university. That's why you are going for PhD, right? So if let's say there are 1,000 people finishing PhD in 1 year, all of them have one goal to find a job in the university. How can you distinguish yourself from all those people? Right? So you still have to make the strategy on how do you brand yourself. Now, one way is that I go and I start talking about myself everywhere and tell people like, I'm very good, I'll prove myself very good, this. But who have got time to experiment, to hire you for 3 years and see if you are really good or not? So what
Also
you need
in
to, yeah,
also
so,
in
yes.
also in Turkey, universities create new criteria for the taking their positions in their academic career.
Yes.
For
So,
being full-time professor, you must do something, a lot of things, but the main idea is the main criteria is the making or publishing articles or books.
right, completely agree. So the whole point of this publishing, obviously at that time in your career, before you finish your PhD, is really about how do you brand yourself. Okay, so here are a few things I will tell you. I mean, it's good that this discussion come here. Normally, I don't talk about these things in my introduction, but it's good that we are talking about this. Two things very important. One is like even earlier today, like in the morning on Facebook, somebody posted a question saying that, is publishing in non-impact factor journals rubbish? In my opinion, it's not rubbish. Why is it rubbish? Because remember one thing, yes, you should strive to publish in an impact factor journal. However, if you cannot publish in an impact factor journal, it doesn't mean that your work is not good. Remember one thing, that impact factor of a journal is the success factor of the journal, not you as an individual author. So if you publish in a journal, just for example, I'll give you a very quick example, okay? Professor Fevzi's journal, IJCHM, it's a pretty strong journal, and it's very difficult to get published in IJCHM at this moment, right? Because the impact factor is close to 4 point something. It's very difficult. And I guess it's one of those very few journals that send out the paper to not 2 reviewers, but 3 or 4 or even 5 reviewers. So it's pretty rigorous to publish in IJCHM. Now, IJCHM got its impact factor not because of what I am publishing in it today. It got its impact factor for what it published in the last 3 years. And in those last 3 years, they have got some very strong papers. So the impact factor is not showing how good I am as a researcher. It shows how good are the researchers who published in it in the past, whose work is cited over the years, right? So when you go as a new author into IJCHM, yes, maybe it's good for you because it's so strong journal, you got published there, but you cannot say that you are a very good researcher because you are publishing in IJCHM. It's not like this. Yes, if your papers start getting citations and your paper is a main reason for driving the impact factor of IJCHM, then you can say that, okay, my paper got so many citations, so I am a good researcher. And that is why now many universities funding agencies and everything is not only looking at impact factor publications, but also about how many times you are cited. What is your H index? What is your I index? Which are individual researcher metrics, like you as an individual researcher, what is the impact of your research? So one thing is for many students, look, here's the thing. There's a very famous saying that says that the journey of 1,000 miles start with one step. So you have to take a step in order to start that journey, right? Now, many people, I've seen that why many people cannot publish is because they are so scared of getting rejected. Like I talk to people, they say, oh, I'm so scared my paper will be rejected from this high impact factor journal, so I don't have courage to write and submit. Come on, even if it gets rejected, at least do it. You know, that rejection also teaches you something. But in the start, what I did was, I'll tell you very honestly, I started publishing in 2013. 2013, I started publishing. My first SSCI impact factor publication was 2015, December 2015, almost 3 years. So for 3 years, I've published around 15, 16 papers. And then I published my first SSCI paper. And now at this moment of time, I have close to 30 SSCI papers within the last couple of years then. And not because I'm extremely special or something, it's nothing like that. It's because you create a strong base for yourself. Like when you go with a process. So I started publishing in non-index journals, a couple of papers, got myself okay with how publishing works, how do you talk to the reviewers and everything. Then I moved to Scopus journals, which are still not very strong, but pretty strong. So with Scopus journals, then later I moved to SSCI, and now I only publish in SSCI. So, you know, it's a process. So for most of the PhD students, my suggestion is publish. It doesn't matter, publish wherever. Now, when I say wherever, make sure that you are not publishing in fake journals. You're not publishing in predatory journals. You're not publishing in journals where you're paying $300, $500 to publish. Don't do that. There are so many other journals that you can publish in that are free to publish, open access, even good journals where the editor is a strong person that you know, and you can go ahead. Look, there's a journal called Journal of Hospitality Marketing and Management, one of the strongest journals. The editor is again a good friend from Turkey, Professor Dogan Gursoy. This journal is one of very old, I mean, very strong journal. They got SSCI a couple of years ago. So if you were only to submit to SSCI journals, you wouldn't even know about JHMM a couple of years ago, but it's a very strong journal. Like I have a paper published in it in 2014, 15, somewhere. So
Faizan.
Professor Faizan.
Hocam dondu galiba.
İnternet bağlantısında bir sorun var galiba.
Evet.
Biraz
Bu araya
bekleyelim.
kadarkini, evet, şöyle bir özetleyelim isterseniz. Diyor ki,
Ha, bağlandı. Okay. Faizan, are you back?
I am here. Yes.
Okay, because we lost you for a couple of minutes. Now you are back.
Okay. You heard the JHMM story, right?
Yes, yes, we heard that.
Yeah.
Okay. So after this, the second thing is that for many PhD students, there's another thing that they do, and that is like sometimes they are in a group of 3 or 4 people, and then they say that, okay, all of us are going to write papers on different topics, and then we are going to add everybody's name on this paper. So within 6 months, each of us will have 4 papers. Okay. Now, what happens is it's a good idea as far as you are working in a research team. Like if you're working in a research team, if you are contributing to the paper enough, you can do that. But remember that as a PhD student, you need to make a niche for yourself. Okay. So Burak is your graduate student, right, Professor Yatkin?
yes.
Burak, what? Yeah, Burak, what
yes,
is your research?
But is my master thesis student also,
Okay,
is
master
research assistant.
Okay, so Burak, what is your research area?
Tourism marketing.
Tourism marketing. So during your work, make sure you're only working on tourism marketing. That if you're publishing 2 papers, 3 papers, 4 papers, make sure that's tourism marketing. Because when you go later into the job market, jobs are specific. Like people want professors who teach tourism marketing. So then you apply for that job. If you have 1 paper in tourism marketing, 1 in tourism finance, 1 in tourism technology, then people are going to say like, how can you be an expert in 3, 4 different areas? So that's another thing for most of the PhD students, very important. Look, yes, number of publications matter, but really people look at your publications later on. For each specific publication, where are you publishing? Who did you publish with? You know, another thing for many people, especially young researchers, don't say yes to everything. You know, yes, there are many times where people reach out to young researchers because they can hold the heavy load, do a lot of work and everything. So as a young researchers, don't say yes to everything. Be selective, do quality work so that you can build your name, you can make your name. So those are very important things for many young PhD students or even young scholars who have just finished their PhD. I have had this discussion with Siddhan, even though Siddhan is not a young researcher, but you know, it's always good to have these discussions. Gosde is another example. And then, in fact, we even have these discussions with Professor Olgan, who is already a full professor, and you know now he is retired from his job. So it doesn't matter in terms of age, but what's important is to understand that the times are changing and how you can market yourself in these changing times. So, all right, any questions, Siddhan? Any questions somewhere on Facebook, YouTube, not Facebook, YouTube, or on?
I am checking YouTube, but there is no question yet. Okay. And there is no question from the chat. They are listening to you. And by the way, from the important point of your speech, I am translating in the chat part.
Okay, no problem. All right.
To make them understand clearly.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's move further. And all right, now when I tell people all these things, right, some people think that I never leave the university campus, or maybe I just live inside a book or something like that. That's not the case. I love my, enjoying my life, and I think that all of you should, because here is the thing, okay? At the end of the day, if you are a good researcher, you want to contribute to the society, right? You want to contribute to things around you, and you can only do that if you experience them. I mean, especially for us who are in hospitality and tourism. I have seen many scholars who are working in hospitality and tourism, but they don't travel. And my question is like, how can you research hospitality and tourism if you don't travel? Like, if you don't travel, how can you do that research, right? Yeah. So remember that you enjoy your life. You go to different places, you enjoy, you see, you observe, and you get the ideas from there to work on them, right? Nowadays, I was very demotivated because for the past 2.5, 3 months, there's no traveling, right? So there's nowhere I can go. In the past, every month I'm traveling 2 or 3 times. Now 3 months, no traveling. So it's very demotivating for me. So what I do is I try to balance, right? So I try to do something to enjoy my life, and that keeps you refreshed for your research work. Because if you're always sitting in front of your computer, if you're always stick your head into the research papers, you cannot be productive. You cannot do really interesting research. So what I do for all that fun stuff is this. I love adventures, hiking, you know, skydiving, thrill rides, this and that. Traveling is a big part of me. I like food, of course, but I don't eat everything. I am a little bit selective with food. Turkey, I eat everything. It's good food. And then cooking sometimes, you know, that is a disputed fact. Many people don't agree to this, but it's okay. I can cook sometimes, and I like nature. So I like animals and plants and these type of things. Just some pictures to show that I'm not lying. You know, these are real pictures. So anyway, so that's the fun part. It keeps me sane, not to go insane, right? So that's pretty much I do. I would recommend everyone, all the PhD students, don't destroy your life only in work, okay? Take breaks. Very important to take breaks, you know, regularly, once a week, once in 2 weeks, go out. And also, I would say that motivate yourself by giving yourself some sort of a gift, you know, and gifts can be anything, like going out for a movie can be a very good gift. So just do something to refresh yourself, or stuff like this. We do it here before this coronavirus. Go to the beach, meet some friends, go do some barbecue, these type of things, like small things for a few hours, but it really refreshes your mind to do something interesting the next day. All right, now one thing for all of you is, I don't know, maybe some of you know this, some of you may not know this, but I run a YouTube channel called Research Beast. What I do on this channel is I share different type of research stuff. Even now when we are talking, it's streaming on this channel right now. It looks like this. So when you go on the channel, it looks like this. But there are a lot of videos that you can watch, which are very interesting. So some general videos like basic mistakes in quantitative research, qualitative data analysis using NVivo, how to do literature review, how to find a research gap, what are case studies, and then there are some specific videos as well, like PLS or model assessment with PLS, or scale development, or things like this. So right now I have close to 40 videos on this channel. My subscribers are pretty much a lot, and people are watching it. So again, if you are interested in learning something, I share stuff every week. Even yesterday, we had a very interesting video on the channel. I had a very good friend of mine who talked about mediators and moderators, which is a very, very interesting talk. I would suggest if anybody is doing their analysis with moderation and mediation to go and watch it. It's very interesting. In fact, I have learned a couple of new things from my friend yesterday, which were very interesting for me. So this is a channel that I'm running. Now, when I'm saying this, I'm also saying that if anybody of you know anyone who is really good at a particular topic or at a particular method, please let me know. Like, write to me and I can invite this person, talk to them, ask them questions on my channel, which would be helpful for many other people around the world. So if you know anybody, let me know. All right, so now let's go into research, okay? My experience with research started in 2012 when I started my PhD. Okay, so I started my PhD in 2012 at University of Technology, Malaysia. I studied at a business school called Azman Hashim International Business School. And during my PhD, there was nothing else to do, right? So I was just studying. So every day I would go to my campus, I would sit in a room, and I had a bunch of other people, including a couple of Turkish friends. So we would just sit in this one room and discuss stuff, right? So I especially got permission from my dean. This room had just one long table, a round table, and we were sitting around this table with a big, very big whiteboard. That's it. That's all this room had. But the best part about this room was that two of the walls in this room were made of glass. And this room was on a 13th floor, right in the middle of Kuala Lumpur city. So basically, you could see the entire skyline of Kuala Lumpur from this office, like all the tall buildings and everything, because two walls were made of glass, right? So like I just told you, I didn't have to go out of this room to enjoy myself. If we were bored, we would just sit and look outside. And Kuala Lumpur has a lot of rain and beautiful weather, so it was very refreshing in this room. But this room became a hub for discussions. And what we did was, and again, this I'm sharing because many PhD students can learn from something like this. So at that time in this room, we had 8 or 9 people. Every morning, we would just go and sit there until afternoon, evening, right? For a few hours, we were sitting there. But what we were doing is very interesting. So I was working in marketing. There were another 2 people in marketing. One person was working in entrepreneurship. A couple of people were working in engineering management, and a couple of other people were working in healthcare management. So now all these people were so different from each other, right? So what we would do is very interesting. Every 3 or 4 days, like whatever I did, I would just go get up in front of everybody and draw it on the board or discuss what I'm doing or share my ideas with everybody, right? Now what was happening was that I was also getting feedback from a couple of people who are studying marketing because they knew what I'm talking about. But then I was also listening from people who didn't study marketing, but they were looking at it from a healthcare management perspective, from engineering management perspective, from finance perspective. And what was happening to my model was it was developing into something very interesting. It was becoming more like an interdisciplinary thing, right? And what was happening was some people would tell me like, how about you look at this theory? Because this theory doesn't exist in marketing, but this theory exists in my field. So I would look into that theory and then I would, wow, this is very interesting. So in my PhD thesis in dissertation, I used a theory called information theory, which comes from communication management, not from consumer behavior, but communication management, just because I had that discussion with people from other disciplines, right? So I would suggest all of you, like PhD students, if you want to develop your work into something interesting, talk to people outside of your field, talk to people who are not in your discipline to get more feedback. And you can easily do that within your own campus. Like if you have good friends who are working with different things. I think I had a very good experience with Sedan has a couple of friends, Mehtab and Ozan, right? They are chefs, so they are in culinary. They are not in consumer behavior or whatever. So last time when I went to Kushadasi, they told me they want to work on some research, and then I gave them some ideas that are related to consumer behavior. But how can they apply those consumer behavior ideas within culinary research, which they liked a lot. And we do this all the time because remember, if you want to do something meaningful, you cannot do it by just digging deep into your own discipline. You have to think outside the box. And these days, it's very interesting how you can bring things outside of the box to do something very, unique in your discipline. So this one, my research experience was pretty much like this, UTM, but it gave me more interest into research, talking to all these people and sharing the ideas and all this collaboration and everything. So that was UTM. After UTM, what I did was, I joined this one group on Facebook called Doctorate Support Group. This is one of the largest support groups for research students. So right now they have close to, I guess, 90,000 members. When I joined this group, at that time, this group had close to 20,000 something members. So I've seen this group develop into something really big now, right? It was so big that I guess a year ago or something, Facebook invited the creator of this group to talk about how she uses this group to help researchers around the world. So this group has many researchers, they share their problems. I'm a very active member of this group, so I also answer to a lot of stuff on this group. And then again, remember, I'm talking about my research experience. So the more I talk to these people, the more I look into the problems they are facing, it actually enriches my experience with research because I also know a lot of new things. Right? So that is Doctorate Support Group. Later, I work with a very, very close friend of mine. He is, again, like an elder brother, Professor Kashif Hussain. He was at Taylor's University. He was kind enough to allow me to work with him as a research assistant for 1.5 years. So we work on multiple research projects. So again, this was more stuff coming into my research experience, right? Now, currently I'm supervising examining students for PhD and masters in US, UK, Pakistan, China, Malaysia. Again, talking to these people face-to-face as well as online, right? Because some of these people I'm talking to them online, I cannot go there. So more and more things are coming to my experience. I'm learning from all these things, right? And I'm going to share my learning with you. Here is what I realized. Before I go into what I realize, I have a quick question. Is there anybody here who has a dream organization that they want to work for? Like anyone, any student who have something like, this is my dream organization. I really want to work for this organization.
Just a sec.
Anyone?
Oops.
I think no.
Guys, you can unmute yourself and answer the question. Maybe Faizan, can you please repeat the question?
Yeah, is there anybody who has a dream organization, like, I really want to work for this organization?
Let me translate for clear understanding. Arkadaşlar diyor ki böyle bir hayal kurduğunuz, çalışmak istediğiniz bir organizasyon, bir yer var mı diyor. Yani kesinlikle burada çalışmak isterim dediğiniz bir yer var mı diyor. Nobody has no dream.
No dream organization. Any university where you want to work in the future after your PhD, like, some people are like, I want to work in Oxford, I want to work at Cambridge, I want to work at, this, that, whatever.
Böyle doktorayı falan bitirdikten sonra çalışmak istediğiniz bir üniversite var mı? Mesela hayal kurduğunuz şöyle bir üniversitede çalışayım.
So, all right. So, yeah, okay. So I have Lubna, who is saying that my dream organization is IATA, which is that airline-related company. So, Lubna, I have to ask you one question, and please answer on the chat because you are listening on YouTube. Just remember that YouTube has a little bit lag, right? So it's like 5 seconds lag in YouTube, but because you are streaming it there. So Lubna, if you are listening, tell me this. Let's say if you are in your university one day and then you see an advertisement that, you know, the CEO of ITA is coming to talk at your university, like, you know, is coming to share his experiences or, you know, talk about this organization at your university. Would you be willing to go and listen to this CEO and listen to what he has to say or she has to say? Okay. This is lag, so I need to wait for a moment. That's why I wanted somebody from Zoom. Or Siddhan, you tell me, do you have a dream organization to work for?
Yes, exactly. I would like to work for actually United Nations World Travel Organization.
Well, UNWTO. So Lubna is saying, yes, sir. Obviously, you would also be willing to go to listen to this person who is coming from UNWTO, right?
Yeah.
Now imagine that you go to listen to this person and this person comes and this person starts saying bad things about UNWTO or IATA, saying that this organization is so bad, the work is so difficult, I don't like this organization, I don't know why I am working there, you know, this type of stuff. What is going to happen to your motivation when you listen to something like this?
It's gonna fly away.
It'll fly away, right? You'll be like, I am so much in love with this organization. I want to work in this organization. But look, this person who is working there, who is on a good position, who is experienced, is saying something bad about this organization. Why would I work there, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what happens is with my research experience, it's pretty much like this when it comes to PhD or, you know, research. Here, look, I'm going to show you a couple of things. This is a picture I took from a research support group. Okay. Now, you may have seen some pictures like this, right? In the past, you may have seen something like this.
Can I ask you some question?
Yes.
Faisal.
Yes.
What's the real meaning of PhD?
Yeah,
okay, so yeah. Yes, so this is another one, right? So many things people call it. Like one that's stood out to me was permanent head damage. So people call it like PhD as permanent head damage or something like this, right?
Yes.
So now this is good, right? We enjoy it. It's humor, and I say humor is very good for us because humor keeps us sane. Yes, we all know this, right? However, with this type of thing, it doesn't stop here. There's another picture like this.
Yes.
Right? So we see these type of pictures, and when we see these type of pictures, for one moment we feel it's funny, we laugh, and when we go, right? Especially those of us who have gone through it or who are going through it or stuff like this. But remember one thing. If you have a young scholar who really like Burak is in master's, MS, right? He wants to go for PhD. But if he go to a research support group is supposed to support you, like motivate you. You go there and then you see something like this or something like the previous picture, right? So what's going to happen is the same example what I said earlier. If you want to do something, but people who have already done it, they are sharing something like this. And what's happening to your motivation is you feel like, oh, no, I don't want to do this one, right? Look, I have a student, had a student, really sharp guy, okay, a Turkish guy, Can, okay, Can Balki, very smart. And I loved him so much because he is so intelligent, okay? So I worked with him. He developed his master's thesis, something really very good, right? Like we developed a skill, very nice. And then I asked him, Can, how about going for PhD, right? So initially he is interested in PhD, but he said, let me work for 1 year in US OPT. after 1 year, I'm going to apply for PhD and I'll go for PhD. 6 months down the road, I asked him, John, what's your plan? Like 6 months are gone. You need to start applying for PhD if you want to go for PhD, right? And what I do is I normally cultivate this, because if I have a student who I think can really do good in PhD, I push them, motivate them to go for PhD. Now, let me tell you what John told me, okay? And what John was doing was he was working as a bartender at the Ritz-Carlton. Okay.
Could you ask Burak, what is your type of headache? I think there is a 5th type of headaches, which is called being my assistant.
Yeah. So now, you know, this John told me a very interesting thing. So John is working at Ritz-Carlton as a bartender, okay, for 6 months. He told me, Dr. Ali, I earn more than what you earn as a PhD, as a professor, just being a bartender at the Ritz-Carlton. Like my tips are more than your salary. Why would I go for PhD? Okay, things like this. Really, this is what he told me. Then another time, I have another student, Maria, finished master's, sitting in front of me in my office. I told her, Maria, how about you go for PhD? She told me, Dr. Ali, I want a real job. I was like, what are you talking about? What do you mean real job? What do you think I'm coming here as a joke every day? Like, so these are the perceptions that are created by people who have gone through this by sharing stupid stuff, right? And what happens is that there are many places. I mean, you can think about this, okay? How many of you had problems when you told your family that I want to go for PhD?
Arkadaşlar kaçınız diyor ben doktora yapmak istiyorum diye ailenize söylediğinde diyor bir problem yaşadı. I think nobody can have this kind of problem in Turkey.
No, I'm not saying problem like people are beating you or something. not that type of problem. Like seriously, when you tell somebody like, you know, I want to go for PhD, problem mean like some funny thing. Like, you know, I'll tell you, some of the comments are like this. Oh, so you mean you are going to study for your whole life? Now, yeah. Or sometimes people comment like, it's enough, like you already have your master's, how long you want to stay in the school? Or some people say like, find a proper job, like why you are going for PhD? You know, things like this. I mean, stuff like this. Or I mean, sometimes people tell their parents like, I want to go for PhD. They say, oh, I thought you are going to become an engineer or start earning or something like this. You know, just those type of comments which you hear. It's funny, you know, there are strong impacts of these type of things, negative perceptions of this PhD or this profession or stuff like this. I even have heard people who say like, if you want to become rich, don't do PhD. Like really, seriously, people say like, okay, go start a job or, you know, become somewhere into a corporate world or something. Like what do you do with PhD? You know, stuff like this.
Yes, I'm saying the same sentences to my old students.
It's really, you know, this is, to be honest, and for most of the PhDs, for most of the professors, you will see one thing they always say, that I'm only doing this because I love my job.
Yes.
Right? And it's true.
Maybe this is a rationalization.
It is. I think it is. But I would say one thing, that look, I believe in this. I mean, I literally am doing this because I love my job. But I think that if we love our job, we need to instill the same love in the upcoming generation. Like really, the upcoming generation should also have that love for research. But unfortunately, it's not happening. Like, you know, very unfortunate that there are some cases where people who have had difficulties in their PhDs, then they create the same difficulties for their own PhD students, saying that, well, I have gone through this, so you should also go through this. Those type of things. Unfortunate, right? I mean, shouldn't happen, but it's happening. And the impact is really bad. It's really negative mindset that is being cultivated. So I think that instead of doing this, because when all this is happening, you know, research or paper writing and all this stuff, the whole mindset becomes into something like this, where people feel that paper publication is such a difficult job, we cannot just do it. Like many people just feel, I cannot publish work because it's just so difficult, right? To be honest, there are many cases where when I go to different universities to talk, people are so scared of writing a paper who have never written a paper. Like imagine if you have never written a paper, but you are scared of writing a paper. How unfortunate is it, right? Yes, you should be scared of writing a paper after you write a paper. So after you write a paper, if you get rejected, then you can be scared of it. It's okay, understandable. But you have never written a paper and you don't want to write a paper because people have made you scared of writing a paper.
Yes, we just finished with Burak, a book chapter, which is published in IGI Global.
I think you are doing the right thing. I think this is how things should be. When you are a graduate student, your supervisors need to work with you to push you to write, train you to write. Not only write, but also to train you to review papers, because when you review papers, it also helps you writing papers. But it has to be done on graduate level, because when you finish your PhD, then you are expected to train the upcoming generation. And if at that time you want to train yourself, imagine what are you going to do with the upcoming PhD students who are going to work under your supervision, right? So it's very important that at graduate level, you start working on things, even if it's one paper, but do it so you understand that experience. Anyway, so let's move further. I think that all of this, what happens is that because of all of these issues, people start hating this process, hate research, hate writing research papers. And ultimately what happens, people who cannot write papers or who hate papers go and share funny things like the ones I showed you in the past. Or they go and say like, what's the point of publishing? Like, there is no contribution. Who reads your paper? What's, you know, that type of stuff. Because they cannot do it. And then they, instead of focusing on themselves, they go and spread out negativity. But please, all the PhD students, all the master students, even like Burak is an MS student, other people who are MS students, if you have already decided to create a career in research, focus on the positivity instead of negativity. The reason why I am discussing this negativity is so that you know that you should avoid these type of things, rather focus more on the positive side of things. Okay, so now, yes.
We have 20 minutes left.
Okay, I am gonna go into this very soon. Now, yes.
Okay.
So is there any questions?
No questions, but comments on YouTube. For example, Mohammed Asim is asking a question, but different topic. But Mohammed Naim is also saying that his family doesn't like him to do PhD.
Yeah, see,
I mean, he's agree with you.
Yeah, it happens. I mean, it's, you know, it's unfortunate. It happens, but ultimately it's the collective goal. It's the collective responsibility for all of us who are doing these things to, you know, aware other people about, you know, the benefits of it. But I, like recently I've seen a trend where people are even getting their PhDs even if they don't want to teach in academia, or if they don't want to work in academia, just because of recognition or because of their curiosity to learn or things like this. But anyway, let's move further.
And one more thing, Faizan, there is a comment on YouTube from Mahmoud Bakr. Dr. Faizan, I try to publish some papers with my friends. However, we really suffer from evaluating our papers' quality as young researchers.
Yes. Again, this is exactly what I was going to say now. Look, one major mistake that many people do is they start writing without reading, which can create a lot of problem for you. Okay, you cannot write until you read enough. And remember one thing, quality is not only in terms of how good is your paper, but quality is also where you want to publish it. So a good example of this would be if Jihan C, who is Jihan C also a student?
He is also yes. Jan, let's introduce yourself.
I am PhD student in gastronomy, the same university with
Okay.
Sedan and Yetkin.
Okay, so you are a gastronomy student. So Jihan, you are a handsome guy, okay? But I want to ask you one thing very quick. Now, if you go, let's say to, what is it? A Gucci, okay? Gucci
Because of
shop,
the
and you buy a very
scream of my daughter, I couldn't ask a question.
Okay, let me ask you again, okay? And then Sedan, if Jihan does not understand, then you please translate, okay?
I can understand, just say.
Okay. Okay, so here is a question, okay, Jihan, if you go to, let's say, what is it, Gucci, okay, Gucci brand, and you buy a very nice shirt for yourself, very expensive, nice shirt, okay?
Okay.
Do you think it will be a good choice for you to buy a very expensive shirt and wear it?
No, I don't think it.
Why? Why?
It doesn't make me happy to wear an expensive t-shirt.
Very good. So one thing is, it doesn't make you happy. Yes, that's personal thing. It doesn't make you happy to wear a shirt, right? That's completely fine. So you would prefer to go and find something that you can afford, like a normal t-shirt, and wear it, and you are happy with that. Yes?
Okay, yes.
Okay, but how about this? Would you go and find a lady's skirt and wear that, like a cheap lady's skirt, and wear it and you feel happy?
Maybe.
A lady's, like a girl's skirt?
These are tricky questions.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tell me, Sedan, can you quickly translate?
I mean, he understands, but his wife is with him, so he cannot answer this question. So it's a tricky question.
Even his wife is here. Why would he wear a lady's skirt?
No, he will not wear a lady's skirt.
You will not wear it,
Jihan.
right?
Nowhere.
Two questions. Yeah. Question number one was,
Ben-
how do you
belki,
feel by
belki giyerim
yourself?
hocam.
He says maybe he wears.
Oh,
Belki
maybe
giyerim
fashion.
hocam. O zamanki ruh haline bağlı. İnsan değişebiliyor.
Speak in English. Speak in English, Jihan. You can speak in English.
Yeah, speak in English.
Maybe I can wear it. It depends on
It
my
depends on at that time, at that specific
Situation.
time. Yeah, situation.
situation.
Okay, normally here's the thing, two questions, right? One is, how do you personally feel about this? So for that question, like as a young researcher, I don't know about the quality of my work. That one is about how do you write your work, right? How do you develop your research? How do you do that? Like Jihan said, I don't like expensive things, so I don't like it. I don't like it, that's fine. But then the second one is, even if you write a very good paper, but the journal where you are sending it is not what your paper is talking about, then that's also a mismatch, right? So then it means there's no quality there as well, right? So that's again very important. Now, you must be able to understand which journal is publishing what type of papers. Very important. That's also an important part of quality. And that's why I'm saying that before you start writing, it's very important to read as much as you can. Because when you read more, you would know what type of journals are available in your field and what type of papers these journals are publishing. And then if, let's say, you decide on one journal, then you read more from that journal so that when you write, you can follow the writing style that is published in that journal. That would improve the quality of your work as well. Okay, and then the last thing that I would say for that particular question was that, yes, as a young scholar, it's difficult for you to decide whether your work is good or bad. That's why you should always have some mentor or somebody who can comment on your work. I do this all the time. Somebody sends the paper to me. Normally, if I'm busy, I say no. If I'm not busy, I can quickly have a look, comment on it, add some review or whatever, and then they can improve their paper and then send it out. But look, if you are doing this, make sure you are doing it honestly. Like for instance, if let's say Sedan sends me her paper, asks me to review this paper before she can submit it to a journal, and if I spend a couple of hours reading everything, putting comments on it, and then she decides not to integrate any of those comments and send it somewhere, it's not good. I mean, you waste my few hours, and then you also send your paper that has a lot of problems to a journal, right? So don't do that. I mean, if you want to do it honestly, because at the end of the day, this is your work, okay? I always tell people something very funny, okay? Do you know that your research paper, any research paper that you write, anyone, it's even more important than your wife or your husband or your girlfriend or your boyfriend? Why? I'll tell you why. Because if you marry somebody, you don't like each other, you separate, right? This is what people do. You have a boyfriend, you have a girlfriend, you don't like each other, you are not compatible, you separate. You write a paper. Do you guys know Maslow?
Yes, Maslow.
Maslow
Yeah,
theory of, right, the triangle. Maslow is dead, I don't know, maybe 40 years ago, 50 years ago. Still people read his papers, right? So you publish a paper, you cannot separate yourself from the paper. That paper remains with you even after you are gone from this world. So when you are publishing a paper, it's not only the fact that, oh, I want to publish so that when I publish, I can show off that I published a paper. It's not like that. That paper remains with you until the end of the time. I mean, that's your paper, right? People are gonna cite it even if you are not here. So make sure when you are doing this work, do a good job. Because if you do a bad job, remember that just like people are going to say good things about good work, people are going to say bad things about the bad work, and that would remain till the end of the time. So when you are publishing, make sure that you are following everything, you are doing a good job. Okay. All right, let's move quickly further.
Yes, we have 8-10 minutes.
Okay, 8-10 minutes. Then let me go quickly to some of the mistakes, okay?
Okay.
Now, and Siddhan, what we can do is, if let's say today we couldn't finish everything, then let's do it maybe another time after a day or 2 days, and then continue.
Yes, that would be great, because there is breakfast in Turkey, so that's why I'm trying to.
Yes, I understand. So let's do this.
We can continue later.
Okay, so I'm not going to skip anything. I'll just go with the normal flow, and then wherever we stop, we continue from there. I mean, I'm okay to do it even like tomorrow. It's okay. We can do it tomorrow, day after, just like this, 1 hour, 1.5 hours, completely fine. Okay. So yes. Now, can anybody tell me, do you guys have any problem like headache or, problem when you are reading research papers?
Most of the time, Burak and Jihan has that kind of headache.
Yeah.
I mean, like when you read papers, after 3 papers or 4 papers, you feel headache, like, oh my God, what am I doing? Yes?
Yeah, I have a classical migraine.
Yeah, it's very heavy stuff, like, oh my God, what am I doing? So it's very, very obvious. I mean, this happens because now Jihan is a culinary student, right? You are a culinary person. So obviously you know how to chop things, right? With a knife.
Yes.
Yes. If you give me a knife, I'm going to chop my finger. I cannot chop anything else because I don't know how to use knife. I don't know that, right? If you know something, it becomes easier for you. I'm pretty sure, Jihan, when you are chopping things, even if you are looking here and there, you can still chop very okay.
I just chopped my finger this evening.
See, I know. Now, why? Because you are so experienced in it. You have done it so many times that you don't really feel bad, headache or tension when you are doing something, if you are used to it. Okay. Now, when we come with research, especially young scholars, because you don't have experience. I mean, how many people have done research in their high school or elementary school? Nobody. Normally we even don't do research in our bachelors, right? So when you come to masters, then that's the time when you start doing research. So it's a new thing for you. Many people are lost. They don't know what they are doing. And because of that, it creates tension, headache, these type of problems. One thing very important is that, remember, you can always ask for help. Right now, what I'm doing is helping, right? What I'm trying to do is trying to give you my experience, my advice, my suggestion. That's a help for most of you. And those of you who are willing to listen to it is because you know that you need help. Right? So remember, as a researcher, it's completely fine to ask for help if you need help. However, when you ask for help, very important that you should know that you are asking for help This is very important because, you know, people do other things. Like what I face is this. I'm going to tell you. Sometimes someone messaged me on Facebook. On Facebook, I have already 5,000 friends. So I cannot add anybody. So if somebody messages me, most of the times it goes to others folder, like junk folder, and I don't even see it in my inbox, right? So sometimes if I'm free, I go to other folder and I see like somebody message me saying that, can you help me with something? Okay, because I've never seen that message, it's in other folder. And then 2 hours after that message, this person say bad things. May Allah do this to you, may God do this to you, like you don't answer, you think you are a big guy, you know, something like this. Why would you do that? You know, if you're asking for help, remember this is help. And you should also remember that maybe other people are going through something. Maybe they didn't see your message, maybe they are busy, maybe something else, right? So give people chance. And sometimes what happens is, like earlier somebody was talking about MTCon conference. I guess Professor Yatkin was talking about it. This is exactly what happened. Professor Muharram, when they messaged me, that message go to my junk folder, I didn't see it. And he is very smart. Then he messaged Sedan and said, Sedan, you are there. Can you talk to Faizan? Because I messaged him, he haven't seen it. Okay, like when Sedan told me, I go, I check where is the message, I saw it, I reply right away. That's also another way. Like if you're reaching out to somebody and you don't get an answer, maybe find another way to approach that person. And you would be surprised that maybe that person have never seen your message, right? So that's number one. Number two is when you are asking for help, make sure you know what help do you need. Now, this is another big thing, okay? So Burak is working on tourism marketing, yes? Now, let's say if Burak says to me that, Faizan, I want to talk to you. I say, okay, sure, let's talk. He called me, I pick up his call, and then he tells me that I want to work on tourism marketing. And can you please give me a topic on tourism marketing? I mean, what type of help that is? That's no help, right? I mean, because I cannot give you a topic. I don't know what you are reading, whatever, all this. A good way of doing this is like Burak tells me that, Faizan, I am looking at these papers, I've read these journal articles, and from this article, I found out that maybe I should work on how virtual reality is changing consumer behavior. Do you think it's a good topic? Yeah, then I can tell him, yes, maybe this is a good topic, maybe think about this, maybe think about that. That's easier for me to help, and that's actually a help. But you cannot just go and ask people like, give me a topic, write for me, this, that, you know, something like this. I see many times like people say, I want to apply for PhD. Can you please send me your statement of research? Why would I send my statement of research to someone, right? Or I'm applying for this grant. Can you send me your, you know, your personal statement? Why? Instead, you can send me your personal statement and you can say, can you have a look at it? Can you see if this is good? Should I add something else into it? So that's a good way of asking help, right? So that's very important. I think what we can do is we can stop here. We can stop here because the time is limited. And then if tomorrow I have time, we can do another 1 hour session. We can continue. And then
Yes, I already text. I mean, while you were talking, we talked to Dr. Yetkin on WhatsApp. We will arrange another day to finish the presentation.
Excuse me, because of calling. My colleague called me and asked something, and I must answer the call. I think Friday is the most suitable day for our students, and then I will ask if then we will rearrange the rest of session.
Okay, so Friday
is suitable for you.
Okay, well, Friday is perfect. So those of you who are on YouTube, if you want to join on Friday, then we will be the same time, right? 10:30 a.m. in US.
10:30 or 10.
Whatever works
10,
for
10,
you.
10, 10.
10? Yeah, 10 is better. It's a bit earlier.
Yes, yes.
10 would be better, yeah.
Okay,
Yes,
so
yes.
again, those of you who are on YouTube, we will continue this presentation on Friday at 10 o'clock in the morning, which was half an hour before when we started today. So
Yeah.
whichever time zone you are in, just move
Yes.
it half an hour earlier on Friday morning.
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Any
O
questions?
zaman
Let me stop here. Any questions anybody might have?
Cuma günü saat 5'te sevgili arkadaşlar yine Zoom'da bir araya geleceğiz. Faizan Hoca'nın yarım kaldı. O yarım kaldığı şeyi de tamamlamış olacak. Normalde Faizan Hoca bıraktığı yerden bir daha geri dönmüyor ama bizim için böyle bir şeyi
Evet,
ilk
güzel
defa
bir devam.
yapıyor. Evet, o anlamda ve şeyi bitirecek. O yüzden Cuma günü herkes 5'te yine buluşuyoruz. Oldu mu hanımlar beyler?
Evet.
Sorusu olan var mı diye
Sorularınız
sordu
var
hocam
mı
ama.
arkadaşlar?
Yok onu
Efendim?
anladım da ben o arada korsan bildiri sundum Burak.
Soru var mı? Any questions?
Evet hocam, ben bir soru sormak istiyorum izniniz olursa.
Of course, there's a
Sor.
question Faizan.
Yeah, sure.
Ayşenur, kameranı açsana mümkünse.
Tabii ki hocam, bir dakika.
Turn on your camera. Yeah.
Tamam. Şu an nasıl?
Right.
Hocam ben şunu öğrenmek istiyorum. Mesela benim yayın yaptığım konu hakkında yayın yapmak istediğim dergide daha önceden buna benzer bir yayın yapılmışsa eğer kabul edilmiyor mu?
Okay, Faizan, she is asking about the publication. If she wants to publish on a topic in a journal and there are other publications in the same journal, is she gonna get rejection or acceptance?
Okay, so acceptance and rejection depends on your work. It doesn't have to do anything with what is already published in that journal. So if your work is really making some sort of contribution, that would accept or reject the paper. Now, what I would recommend is this. If let's say you are doing, Ayşenur, what's your area of research? What's your area of research?
Ayşenur, ne üzerine çalışıyorsun?
Daha henüz ben kültür coğrafyasında yapacağım ama inşallah.
Cultural geography.
Okay, cultural geography. So,
Yeah.
Mutlu Hoca'nın öğrencisi Sedan Hocam.
Yes, cultural geography.
okay, let's say for instance, she is working on something related to tourism, geographies and culture, this and that, and then she decides to go and publish in tourism geographies. This is a journal. Now, if your topic is something that is already published in that journal, how can you make sure that your work also becomes publishable? Number one, you should definitely refer and mention that work that is already done. Because if you don't do this, it means you didn't read the literature about this topic in that journal. So if there's something similar done, you should refer to it, cite that work, but don't just cite it, use it in your own discussion. And then see how your work is different from that work. Because here is one thing, whatever is already published is old research compared to your research. Even if it's 1 year old, right? Your research is newer compared to that research. Now imagine this, last year in May and this year in May, right? How many stuff has changed?
Too many.
The whole world is changed, right? The whole world is upside down 1 year. So if your work is done 1 or 2 years or 3 years later than the work already published, see how the findings are different. Maybe your sample is different, right? If your sample is different, how does it change your findings from those existing studies? Use that in your discussion. Your chances of public acceptance in that journal will increase much more than rejection, because what you are doing is you are increasing the discussion in that journal. You are increasing that discussion, right? So if something is published, make sure you refer it, you cite it, but also use it in your discussion. And focus more on the changes, focus more on the things that are different in your research compared to that research that's already published.
Okay, let me translate very quickly.
Sure.
Ayşenur, tabii ki daha evvel yayın yapılmış bir dergide sen de yayın yapabilirsin. Bu kabul edilmeyecek diye bir anlamı yok. Fakat şöyle bir durum var. Senden evvel yapılmış yayınlara mutlaka inceleyip okuyup mutlaka atıfta bulunmanı tavsiye ediyor ve kendi yaptığın araştırmanın tartışma bölümünde senden evvel yapılan araştırmaları karşılaştırmanı istiyor. Çünkü diyor bir yılda her şey değişiyor. Düşün ki diyor geçen sene Mayıs'lı şu anki Mayıs'ta bütün dünya değişti diyor. Bir yıl içinde her şey değişebilir ya da 2 yıl içinde her şey değişebilir. kendi elde ettiğin sonuçlarda senden evvel çalışmalarda elde edilen sonuçları mutlaka tartışma bölümünde karşılaştır ve aradaki farkları ortaya koy diyor.
Anladım.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Sure. There are two more questions that I'll quickly answer. Those are on YouTube. Very quick. One is it necessary to have a different theory for every hypothesis in my study? No, it is not important. It's not necessary to have a theory for every hypothesis. Now, remember when I say it's not important to have a theory, it doesn't mean literature support. Now, each hypothesis in your model, every single hypothesis that you have in your model should have some sort of literature support, some sort of support that existing studies say that this relationship exists or do not exist. For theory, normally you should have one or two big overarching theories that support your whole logic, okay? But you don't have to have a theory for every hypothesis. That's number one. Number two is, how can I develop first paragraph of introduction on fashion apparel brands in Pakistan, because I could not find an article to Pakistani context on fashion apparel brands. Now, the question is very specific, but I'm going to make it generic for everybody to understand. Now, let's say if, like Aisha Noor is working on cultural geographies, and let's say if she is working on cultural geographies in Turkey, and she's writing her introduction, but she cannot find any research paper that is done on cultural geographies in Turkey, right? No article. Then what do? You don't have to have articles. You can go to newspapers, you can go to magazines, you can go to any other place where there might be some statistics, some explanation about that context. Look, this past 2 months, I have reviewed 6 papers that are written on COVID-19, coronavirus. 6 papers, I reviewed them. Now, do you think there's any literature available for coronavirus? There's no literature. I mean, it's a new thing. There's no research published on it. So, but how do they do that? They go to newspapers, they go to WHO, World Health Organization, pick up numbers from there to write their introduction. So for introduction, the whole point is you are establishing the importance of your context. For that, you don't need research papers only. Now, if you have research papers, good enough. If not, find other sources. Number one. Number two is, if you are doing something completely new, you don't even have newspapers, then find something related to your work. Maybe find something about cultural geographies in Greece, if you don't have it in Turkey. Find cultural geographies in, let's say, Romania or Bulgaria. Do something like that, similar to what you are doing. But find some sort of reference, but you don't have to find exactly what you are doing, because the whole point is to establish the importance. You can do it with multiple things. That's the answer for that. Any other question in the chat with you, Sidan?
No, there is no question in the chat. And arkadaşlar, başka soru var mı?
Hocam ben bir soru sorabilir miyim?
Yeah, sure. Who are you?
Erkan.
Erkan ben.
Erkan, okay.
Hocam burada bir makale veya tez yayınlarken kaynakçı kısmına çok önem veriliyor. Yani bir sürü kural var. Yok işte virgül koyacaksın, işte yazarın ismi, bilmem bir şey. Yurt dışında da acaba bu yayın sırasında yine bu şekilde çok keskin kurallar var mı?
Okay. Faizan, it's about author guideline. There are strict author guideline, you know, especially in the reference site, APA 6, APA 7. Why are they so strict? I mean, he is asking, it's strict in Turkey, is it strict in other places, also in other journals?
Yes, it's strict everywhere, because remember, when you are publishing something, you are not publishing a standalone thing. Your article is published with a bunch of other articles, and those things are published with a bunch of other issues to make it into one book. And you have to make it consistent, right? So that readers know what to expect with things. If there's no consistency, it creates a lot of confusion. So all the author guidelines are specific to journals, and that's only for consistency, to make it easier for people to read.
Erkan, aynı durum her yer için geçerli. Bütün dergiler için hepsinin ayrı ayrı kuralları var. Bu kurallara uyulması gerekiyor. Çünkü bir bütünlük sağlanması lazım. Dergide yayınlanan yayınlar arasında bir bütünlük sağlamak için bu kurallar zorunlu her yerde.
Okay. One other thing very quickly, Sidan, before we leave. On Monday, this coming Monday at 10 o'clock in the morning, New York time, which would be same like what we were going to do on Friday. On Monday morning, I will be talking to Dr. Katerina Berezina, who is managing editor for Journal of Hospitality and Tourism Technology, live on YouTube. It's more question and answer session. So she is not presenting anything, but she will answer questions related to research, like what I just answered in the end. So anybody here who wants to join, or those of you who are watching on YouTube, make sure that you join that session on Monday, Monday at 10 o'clock New York time, and then you can have your questions. And then Dr. Katerina Berezina will answer those questions specific to research, right? Theory, research process, this type of stuff. So please join if you can.
Okay, let me translate very quickly. Haftaya pazartesi günü saat 5'te sizin saatinizle Faizan Hoca'nın Doktor Katerina Berezina ile YouTube'da canlı yayını olacak. Katerina Hoca herhangi bir sunum yapmayacak. Sadece araştırmayla ilgili soruları alacak ve cevap verecek. Dolayısıyla bu canlı yayını isteyenler takip edip oradan araştırma süreciyle ilgili sorularını sorabilirler. Thank you so much.
All right, guys. Thank you. Have a good time. And see you on Friday.
See you on Friday. Bye bye everyone.
Bye.
Bye bye arkadaşlar. Görüşmek üzere.
Bye bye.